Rejected Omega Girl sold at auction, but then the Alpha King made a shocking move at midnight. The night was thick with anticipation and shadows danced over the eerie auction house, where the air smelled of desperation and dreams dashed. Candles flickered, casting long, wild shadows as whispers of the forbidden thrummed through the crowd. A rejected Omega Girl, no more than 18, stood trembling on the auction block, her bright blue eyes wide with fear. She was a rare specimen, one that was supposed to bring glory to an Alpha S pack. Instead, she had been cast aside like yesterday's news, left to the mercy of the highest bidder. As the auctioneer's voice boomed, it cut through the din like a knife, and with each escalating bid, the stakes became more fevered. The crowd murmured, eyes glittering with a mix of greed and lust. What were they willing to do for this girl? She clutched her arms tightly, trying to subdue the panic swelling in her chest. The moment felt unreal, like a gory fairy tale gone profoundly wrong. Just as the price soared beyond logic, a wave of dread washed over the attendees. Could it be true? Could the Alpha King, the very man whose reputation was shaped in shadows, be lurking among them? He hadn't been seen for months, a ghost whispered about in dark corners. They said he feared nothing and ruled with an iron fist. The thought sent shivers down everyone's spine. And that when the heavy wooden doors creaked open with a bone-chilling groan. Gasps erupted, heads turned, and a wave of silence swept over the room. All eyes shifted to the figure cloaked in darkness, a looming presence that seemed to suck the air from the room. Who dares to bid on this untamed Omega? His voice rumbled like distant thunder, sending a shock through the crowd that left them frozen. Just then, an unfamiliar tension snapped in the air, crackling like static electricity. She trembled, both terrified and intrigued, as the Alpha King stepped forward, eyes sharp and fierce, piercing through the haze of mystery surrounding him. He had made a shocking move, but did he come to save her or seal her fate? Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. His dark gaze locked onto hers, and for a moment time froze. The atmosphere thickened, clashing emotions sparked fear, hope and curiosity all mingling in her chest like a raging storm. What was his true intention? What chaos lay behind that enigmatic smile? The crowd held its breath, and it felt like the world had tilted on its axis. He raised a hand, signaling for his bid. What kind of power did he hold? The entire room seemed to exhale in tension. She knew then that her life was about to change forever. Did she want to go with him? Or was this a nightmare that was just beginning? The auctioneer hesitated, momentarily stunned by the Alpha King's formidable presence. Gasps rippled through the crowd like a wave, each murmur growing louder with disbelief and intrigue. What did it mean for them, for her? Her heart thudded loudly in her chest, each beat echoing a question. Was this a rescue or an ultimate betrayal? 2 million, the Alpha King's voice rang out, sharp and confident, shattering the lingering silence. The sheer audacity of his bid sent shockwaves through the room. Coming from him, it wasn't just a number. It was a proclamation. Faces in the crowd twisted from greed to panic, realizing he had just claimed her with one bold strike. More bids were called, but one look from him sent competitors retreating. Sold! The auctioneer yelled, his voice quaking as he struck the gavel. The thunderous sound cracked through the tension, sealing the girl's fate. As the crowd began to disperse, she felt a chill wash over her. Would she be led away like livestock, or was there a flicker of kindness in his intentions? He moved toward her, each step deliberate, radiating undeniable power. She wanted to hide, to shrink back into herself, but the intensity of his gaze anchored her in place. Come, he commanded softly, but with an authority that brooked no argument. There was something magnetic about him, a dark allure that pulled at her despite the fear knotted in her stomach. The room emptied, leaving only the two of them amidst the dim candlelight and shadows. You're safe now, he said, confidence lacing his tone, yet that reassurance felt heavy with other meanings. Would she truly be safe with him? Or had she simply traded one cage for another? As he reached for her, his fingers brushed against her arm, warmth radiating from his skin. It was unexpected, a stark contrast to the frozen dread pooling in her gut. "You're not a commodity," he continued, eyes narrowing as he searched her face. "You're worth more than they ever realized." But who was he really? The Alpha King. A name that struck fear into the hearts of many. She was a pawn in a game far greater than herself, and yet, here he was, claiming her with a bid more costly than she could comprehend. A flicker of hope sparked within her, battling against the shadows of doubt. Could this man, who had built his empire on the broken backs of others, change the course of her fate? Was she destined to be a queen, or merely another notch in his conquest? The door swung shut behind them with a resounding finality, trapping her in this new world. She gasped as she caught a glimpse of his expression, an enigmatic mix of determination and intrigue. It didn't take long for the realities of her situation to seep back in, and she felt her heart race again, but this time for different reasons. "What do you want from me?" she blurted out, her voice trembling, a stark volley against the thick silence that clung to the air. These walls had swallowed others before. Would they consume her too? He stepped closer, closing the distance between them until she could feel the warmth radiating from him, intoxicating and terrifying all at once. "I want the truth," he breathed, low and intense, devoid of the bravado he wore like armor for the crowd. "And I need you to become more than just an Omega girl to me." Was this an invitation to share her story, or an ultimatum packaged as a plea? Either way, she stood on the precipice of a new existence, one that shimmered with possibility yet whispered of peril. But before she could respond, an earth-shaking howl pierced the stillness, echoing from outside. Panic erupted within her again, a stark reminder of the world beyond these walls. A world she was so closely tied to but barely understood. "Stay close," he commanded, tension seeping back into his features. "We need to move fast." What fate awaited them in the darkness beyond the door? What shadows lurked, watching and waiting? The answer twisted in her gut, and it was clear. Her new life was about to plunge into chaos. The howl reverberated through the air, a chilling reminder of the danger lurking just outside. Her heartbeat quickened, each pulse resonating with fear and uncertainty. The Alpha King's presence sharpened, cutting through the tension like a knife. "Follow me," he commanded, urgency threading through his voice. He turned on his heel, leading her toward a hidden door at the rear of the room. She hurried after him, her breaths coming in quick bursts, her mind racing with questions. Would he protect her, or was she merely a pawn in his grand design? The door creaked open, revealing a narrow hallway cloaked in shadows. Flickering lanterns lined the walls, casting dark shapes that seemed to come alive as they moved. The air was thick with a mixture of dampness and something metallic that made her stomach churn. As they hurried deeper into the passage, the sounds from the auction room faded away, replaced by an unsettling silence. It was a silence that screamed of secrets and hidden passages, an echo of lives lost to the shadows. Each footstep felt weighted with dread, as if the very walls had ears and were listening to their every move. "Where are we going?" she managed to ask, her voice a mere whisper, trembling with uncertainty. "To safety," he replied, but the word hung heavy in the air, filled with ambiguity. "There's something you need to know about them. About us." Every step they took further into the maze felt like they were stepping deeper into a trap. Her mind swirled with possible outcomes, each one worse than the last. She was in a world she didn't understand, caught between a man who was both her savior and her captor. As they turned a corner, the lights flickered ominously, and she caught sight of a mural depicting fierce battles and dark creatures. Faded portraits of former kings and queens stared down at her, their eyes hollow. They seemed to mock her, reminding her of the weight of expectation thrust upon her shoulders. "Keep moving," he urged, pulling her from her thoughts. He led her through a heavy door, and the air shifted, becoming colder. The room beyond was vast, becoming a hidden hall of stone and shadows. In the center, a massive table lay strewn with maps and documents, chaotic sketches of landscapes, and markings she didn't recognize. It was a war room, a place of strategy and tension, but among the chaos, an aura of familiarity washed over her. "Sit," he instructed, his voice tinged with authority, yet laced with something softer, As if he were trying to provide comfort during a storm, she complied, her mind racing. What is this place? What are you fighting against? His expression darkened, a storm brewing in the depths of his eyes. There's a threat beyond anything you can imagine. We are shadows under constant siege, and I brought you here because you are part of this fight. Those words sent a shiver down her spine. Part of what fight? He stepped closer, the air thick with tension. The fight for your freedom, for ours, and for the truth hidden under years of bloodshed. You will be more than a pawn. You hold the key to turning the tide. Me? Her voice trembled, doubt wrapping around her heart like chains. I'm just an Omega girl, not anymore, he interrupted, his gaze fierce. You were bought to be a queen. But secrets come at a cost. You need to understand who you're up against and who you really are. Just as he finished, the walls trembled, a low growl reverberating from outside, followed by the sound of shattering glass. Get ready, he said, his tone shifting to a low growl, filled with urgency. They found us. We don't have much time. The danger was closing in, and she felt her breath quicken again. What had she stepped into, and how would she reclaim the life stolen from her? In the chaos of impending doom, something other than fear flickered within her, an ember of defiance. But would it be enough to withstand the storm? The door burst open and figures cloaked in shadow poured in, their eyes glinting with menace. The Alpha King stepped between her and the intruders, a shield of raw power radiating from him. Stand behind me, he growled, a fierce protector ready to battle. What were they fighting against? Did she have the strength to face the darkness coming for them? As the shadows surged forward, confusion swelled inside her. She was bound to discover the truth. Was she ready for this war? The battle was just beginning. The shadows surged, dark figures with menacing eyes creeping closer. The Alpha King stood firm, his muscles taut and ready for conflict. She could feel his power radiating, a force of nature that drew her in and terrified her at the same time. But fear tightened her throat as she clenched her fists, willing herself to remain calm. Alpha, one of the dark figures hissed, its voice dripping with venom, hand her over. You know she is not meant for your kind. Not today, he shot back, voice unyielding, filled with the kind of conviction that made her heart race. She knew without a doubt that he would fight for her. But a stray thought nagged at her, who would fight for him? The intruders advanced, the air between them ripe with tension. With each footfall, the chill in the room intensified, as if the shadows themselves were alive. She felt the Alpha's body shift slightly, his focus narrowing. It was a dance of power, a primal instinct that underscored their existence. Do you truly think you can shield her? Another figure sneered, its features obscured by darkness. She is just a pawn, a discarded tool in this game. No, she found herself responding, her voice stronger than she felt. I'm not just a pawn. The words broke free before she could catch them, each syllable propelled by something deep inside her, awakening fire in her belly. Silence engulfed the hall, all eyes shifted toward her, even the king's surprise mingling with pride. She felt a current of strength crackle through her, igniting that ember of defiance she had sensed earlier. I have a right to stand here to fight with you. The intruders exchanged glances, confusion evident in their movements. But the Alpha's gaze sharpened, and his lips curved into a determined smirk. It seems our little pawn is so little after all. Do you really think you can win this war? One of the shadows taunted, stepping closer, the glint of a blade catching the flickering light. You're outnumbered, outmatched. Looks can be deceiving, the king growled, lowering his body into a defensive stance. And desperation often reveals the greatest truths. With a fierce growl, he lunged forward, powerful and unyielding. She watched as he became a blur of motion, hands and feet striking with precision, each movement calculated yet instinctual. The clash of bodies echoed against the stone walls, a symphony of chaos unfolding before her, and in the midst of the turmoil, she felt an odd sense of clarity. This wasn't just his fight. It was hers too. She scanned the room, her eyes darting from the fierce confrontation to the scattered maps and documents on the war table. Ideas filtered through her mind as glimpses of strategy ignited possibilities she never knew she had. Stop them! She shouted, urgency fueling her next words. The plans, they're here. All the scattered papers whispered secrets, a language born from battles long past. With newfound determination, she bolted toward the table. No. The shadows yelled, their attention momentarily diverted as they reacted to her movement. She could hear the Alpha's growls interwoven with the grunts of their attackers, but one thing was clear. She wouldn't live in fear any longer. The knowledge of what lay before her was a weapon, and she needed to wield it. Grabbing a handful of maps, she scanned their markings, desperate to find anything that might turn the tide in their favor. Her heart raced, the echoes of battle fueling her resolve. This was her chance. Just as she pieced together a plan, a sharp pain seared through her shoulder. She spun around to see one of the intruders standing too close, a wicked grin curling on its lips. Your defiance will cost you dearly. Don't! The Alpha's voice thundered, ripping through the chaos as he battled with unrelenting fury. As their worlds collided in that moment, she caught sight of the shadows circling in, ready to strike. But the path ahead glimmered, a chance forged in desperation. Would she hold fast to her newfound strength or crumble under the weight of fear? The darkness was closing in, but within her thrummed a resolve she could no longer ignore. She took a deep breath, remembering that she wasn't just an Omega anymore. Let us fight, she whispered fiercely, grappling her courage, ready to unleash her truth. And as the tide turned, darkness threatened to engulf them. One question echoed in the depths of her mind: could light truly shine in this enveloping darkness? The world seemed to slow as she turned, feeling the remnants of adrenaline still coursing through her veins. The blade gleamed inches from her, and in that instant, everything narrowed: the shadows, the battle, the Alpha's roaring defiance. Pain lanced through her shoulder, hot and sharp, but it became a fire fueling her resolve. Get away from her. The Alpha's voice was primal, fury rippling through every syllable. She could see the tension coiling in his muscles, ready to spring, but he couldn't reach her in time. Fighting through the haze of pain, she grasped the corners of the maps in her hands. They felt like lifelines, secrets waiting to be unleashed. With a fierce yank, she tore a chunk free, ripping through parchment and memories. She caught a glimpse of a strategy her mind had constructed: a route, a plan, a way to gain the upper hand. Alpha! She shouted, the urgency snapping her focus back. I found something. His eyes locked onto hers, a fleeting moment where determination converged with that deep-seated worry. What? He growled as he hammered blows against the lurking figures. The supply route. If we can cut them off there, we could. Without waiting for her to finish, he pivoted, launching himself into the heart of the conflict. The dark figures seemed to sway, their confidence wavering, but the remains of their malice lingered. He fought like an unstoppable storm, and she couldn't afford to falter now. Every fiber of her being screamed for action. Gritting her teeth, she shoved aside fear and doubt. She could do this. If she wasn't just an Omega, then she'd prove it. Rushing back to the table, she drew another sheet closer, praying it contained more hints of their enemy's movements. As she rifled through documents, she could hear the clang of metal against metal. Where was he? What if he faltered? The thought twisted her stomach, but she forced herself to push it aside. With each breath, darkness clung closer. A muffled grunt wrenched her gaze back. The Alpha slammed a shadow against the stone wall, but even through the chaos, she saw another one creeping toward him from behind, blade drawn. Behind you! She screamed, pointing wildly. Time ceased as the warning slipped from her lips. Heart pounding in sync with the fight unfolding. Whipping around, he met the attack head-on, deflecting the blow with a powerful twist. The shadow stumbled, but it wasn't enough. More darkness surged forward, pressing him back. She felt helpless, sweat pooling on her brow as she watched him battle. Focus on the plan was all she could think. It wasn't just about survival, it was about winning. Fumbling, she flipped over another map and sketched a hasty line across a critical juncture. There. An ambush point perfectly timed. Her heart pounded fiercely, knowing that if they could exploit it, the tide could turn. Alpha! She yelled again, desperate for him to hear. We need to use the docks. It's our chance. His eyes flickered toward her as he fought, their connection amplifying the urgency in the air. A flicker of understanding crossed his features, and for the first time, she saw a glimmer of hope mixed with ferocity in his gaze. He nodded sharply, roaring a command to rally his warriors, redirecting their momentum toward the docks. The shadows began to waver, uncertainty flooding their ranks as confusion rippled through the intruders. She sprinted over, grabbing his arm. We can end this. together. But as they recalibrated their strike, another shadow pulled itself from the fray. Its eyes glinted with malevolence. "You think you've won?" It hissed, voice a ghostly echo of menace. Before she could react, it lunged. A jolt of panic surged through her, and she instinctively moved in front of the alpha, heart racing. Was she ready to face the ultimate sacrifice? As she braced herself against the impending attack, the air thickened with impending dread. Would it all come crashing down at the last moment? How could she prove she was more than a pawn? The relentless advance of shadows loomed, and in that fleeting second she wondered, could their newfound alliance withstand the final blow? The blade whistled through the air, and time stretched taut as a wire. She could hear her heartbeat in her ears, each pulse like a countdown to chaos. Was this really happening? Shoulders squared, fists clenched, ready for the impossible whirlwind about to crash down. The alpha was right behind her, his presence a massive force ready to collide with darkness. Just as the shadow lashed out, she felt a powerful surge of primal instinct. With a fierce expulsion of breath, she ducked, adrenaline ripping through the haze of her pain. The sharp sting deepened as the blade sliced through her shirt, grazed her skin. But she didn't have time to react. Then, like thunder, the alpha surged forward, a whirlwind of fury. He caught the shadow by the arm, the bone-crunching impact echoing through the cavern. The figure crumpled under his wrath, but she knew more awaited. She gripped the table, steadying herself, willing the world to stop spinning. "Move!" he roared, and the energy in the room shifted. Her legs carried her forward before she even understood. Together they could rip through the heart of this chaos. She had a plan, a flicker of hope sparking in her chest. But then the darkness moved again. A second shadow lunged from the corner, its shape slick and menacing. She felt the pull of dread deep in her gut, and in the very moment she turned, she realized the price of hesitation might be unbearable. "Alpha, the docks!" she called out, pushing through the haze, but his attention was elsewhere. His focus was locked on another threat, body twisting as he parried yet another blade aimed at him. Clenching her jaw, she dove forward, a surge of desperation flooding her senses. She had to trust herself, she had to believe. With determination guiding her, she lunged and tackled the shadow to the ground. The breath left her lungs as they hit the stone, her weight pinning the figure beneath her. Adrenaline surged through her, burning and intense. She grabbed for its wrist, the pressure gnawing at her sanity. A sudden shout erupted from beside her, the alpha. His roar filled the chamber, a powerful command that reverberated with primal energy. The shadows took a step back, glancing nervously between each other. Together. "Focus." Pushed to the edge, she pulled back, readying herself for another strike. The shadow beneath her twisted, and as it pushed against her, she felt a momentary flicker of vulnerability. Panic clawed its way up her spine. No. Then she saw the alpha charge towards her, a wild mix of protective rage and fierce resolve. "Stay down," he shouted, and in that second, she knew. When he reached her, they were a hurricane of fury, forcing the shadow back. The figure stumbled, but not before another emerged, flanking them. "Nothing will change," it hissed, a threat lingering on the air thick enough to taste. Realizing the enormity of their situation sent a jolt through her. This was not a battle against mere figures. It was a confrontation of wills. Bursting with fury and fear, she met the alpha's eyes. "Do you trust me?" she asked, heart drumming wildly as he met her gaze, something flickering in his fiery depths. "Always," he growled. Her heart soared. Then the world shook as darkness surged once more, a tide threatening to swallow them whole. They charged, joined at the hip, relentless in their pursuit of survival. Every step forward felt like a declaration, a promise that they would not falter. But just as they reached the final entrance to the docks, an unearthly growl echoed, freezing their steps. The air charged with tension, and an unmistakable menace pulsed in the atmosphere. What stood before them was bigger, darker, something that held power beyond the shadows they had fought. "Welcome to your end," it hissed, eyes flaring with malice. Could they truly handle this monstrous new threat? Their resolve had been tested, but did they have enough strength left to face the true evil lurking ahead? A pang of fear shot through her, and she wondered what lay beyond this moment. Was victory within reach, or had they only awakened something far more sinister? The silence that enveloped them was suffocating. She felt it crawling along her skin, wrapping around her throat, squeezing. The creature before them loomed like a nightmare, muscles rippling beneath dark, glistening skin. Its eyes burned like molten coal, reflecting the flickering light that barely pierced the shadows. "Stay close," the alpha whispered, his breath hot and quick on her neck. She could hear the tension in his voice, the way it wavered beneath layers of determination. It made her shiver, but it also ignited a fire within her. The monstrous silhouette shifted, a low guttural sound escaping its throat, a terrible blend of growl and laughter. "Two little lambs, wandering into the wolf's den, what do you hope to achieve?" It mocked, the sound echoing through the cavern, threatening to swallow her faith whole. "We'll show you what we can achieve," she shouted, more defiantly than she felt. The words tasted foreign on her tongue, but the resolve grew as she leaned into the alpha's steady presence. He moved slightly, and she felt fortified by his unwavering spirit. In a flash, the beast lunged, a blur of ferocity. The alpha acted first, shifting before she could register the danger, a force of nature preparing to collide. With one fluid motion, he aimed for the creature's throat, but it dodged, agile and swift. The pair tumbled, both battling for dominance. She felt the whispers of doubt clawing at her. Could she truly contribute anything to this fight? Panic surged, but she thrust it aside. She wasn't the little girl who hid in corners anymore. Nerves ignited her muscles and she jumped into action through the chaos. She spotted a glimmer of light reflecting from something partially hidden, an old weapon, a rusted dagger, nearly swallowed by dust and darkness. Running felt both absurd and exhilarating, her heart a metronome of desperation guiding her steps faster. "Alpha, behind you!" she shouted, her voice cutting through the cacophony. The beast swung a massive claw, just inches from the alpha's neck. In that heartbeat, time twisted again. Desperate, she grasped the handle of the dagger, feeling the cold metal bite into her palm. It ignited a surge of courage. "Alpha!" she called, heart pounding in her chest. He turned just as she hurled the dagger, the blade slicing through the air. It flew true, plunging into the creature's shoulder, eliciting a roar that was pure rage and agony. "Good shot!" he yelled, and that praise wrapped around her like armor. The distraction was fleeting. The beast lunged again, now focused on her, a predator zeroing in on the weak link. She turned to run but felt something cold grip her ankle, a vine of shadow reaching from the ground like a coiling serpent. "No!" she screamed, fear igniting raw energy. With a surge of will, she forced her body forward, drawing from every aspect of her being. And something unexpected happened. The shadows recoiled, a rippling wave of hesitation that stunned her. "Keep pushing!" the alpha roared, caught in the fray yet fiercely protective. She tore her foot free, adrenaline powering her beyond her limits. With every step back toward him, she felt the darkness retreat. He was right beside her now, fueled by the same unyielding determination. The beast snarled, pulling back as if the fight had drained from its massive form. "You think you can defeat me? I am the knight." "Not anymore," she said, her voice firm, her blood thrumming with strength as she met the monster's gaze with a defiance she had never known. They stood together, united against the predator, feeling the air crackle with raw possibility. But just as hope began to flicker like a candle, the creature let out an earth-shattering howl that echoed into the night, shaking the cavern's very foundation. "Stay strong," she shouted, feeling the tendrils of fear creeping back. And then, like a thunderclap, something else emerged from the shadows, a new threat, just as potent. Was this the true enemy they had ignited? A rival even the beast feared. As the darkness thickened, the feeling of dread returned. What exactly had they awakened? In a world so warped by shadow, could they truly prevail? The air reverberated with uncertainty, and amidst the chaos, a horrifying realization dawned. They were not alone in this battle. Could they summon enough strength to face what lay ahead? Or had they inadvertently opened a door into a darker fate? The howl echoed like a bell tolling doom, vibrating through the cavern and into her bones. The darkness pulsed around them, thickening as the new threat revealed itself, a second creature lurking just beyond the veil of shadows. Its form was sleek and menacing, all sinew and hunger. Where the first beast was sheer brute force, this one exuded an elegance that made her stomach twist. "What the hell?" she breathed, dread washing over her. The alpha's protective stance shifted, muscles taut and ready to spring. She could see the conflict in his eyes. Was he calculating, waiting to make a move, or had fear momentarily clouded his mind? "Get ready," he whispered, urgency coating each syllable. Before she could respond, the elegant predator lunged with eerie grace, moving like water through a stream. The alpha spun to meet it, a blur of fur and teeth, but urgency quaked through her. She wasn't just a bystander anymore. "Take it down," she shouted, though her voice felt small against the roar of chaos. She grabbed another jagged rock from the ground, whatever she could find to be useful. The world around her seemed to shrink as she focused on the new opponent. She closed her eyes for a split second, refocusing her mind, willing the fear to melt away. Suddenly, the cavern was alive with the sounds of battle. Claws scraped against stone. The growls and howls blended, forming a symphony of desperation. Each movement felt heightened, as if every heartbeat were amplified in the heightening tension. The alpha fought valiantly against the beast, his eyes locked onto the elegant attack pattern, searching for an opening. She could see him gauge every strike and dodge as the monster danced around him, teasing him like a skilled duelist. But it was clear, the alpha was beginning to tire. Their initial momentum waned, just as doubt swirled around her heart. "Stop," she cried, voice wavering but resolute. The beasts paused for just a moment, heads turning towards her. The silence was thick. "You're not the only ones who can fight." The words rang through the cavern, vibrating her insides. It was a different kind of courage igniting within her. She took a step forward, holding the jagged rock like a talisman, her breath steadying as clarity emerged from the chaos. As if sensing her determination, the shadows reacted. The tendrils lurking at her feet withdrew slightly, as if acknowledging her newfound power. "Trust me," she urged the alpha, locking their gazes. He hesitated only a moment, then gave a tight nod, a silent agreement in perfect sync. They charged at the predators, a united front formed out of sheer will and raw desperation. As she leaped forward, she threw the rock with all her might, aiming for the elegant beast's eyes. It struck true, the creature shrieking in fury, even as it dodged the blow. "Now, Alpha," she commanded, realizing that they were pure energy, two sparks igniting into a flame. He surged towards the creature, utilizing her distraction with a fierce battle cry. The two seemed intertwined in a deadly dance, the ground quaking beneath their feet as they fought for their lives against insurmountable odds. But just as a flicker of hope ignited within her, darkness began to swallow the light. The first beast regained its composure, anger flashing from its molten eyes, while new sounds crawled out of the depths of the cavern. Voices, whispers in a language she couldn't understand, but they chilled her to the bone. The shadows converged further as a low growl resonated off the walls, amplified by the echoing dread that filled the cavern. "You will not prevail," it hissed, molten eyes gleaming with malicious delight. Sweat dripped down her brow as panic set in, squeezing her heart tight. In that moment, she realized the true fight wasn't just against the creatures, but against the darkness that loomed far beyond. They were caught in something much larger. "Stay together," the alpha yelled, but doubt wormed its way into her mind. Could they truly fight an enemy so deeply rooted in shadow? The atmosphere thickened, darkness wrapping around them, like a heavy fog. What was rising from the depths? What had they truly woken? The chilling realization settled in as the thoughts flickered through her mind. There was more at stake than just their survival. The line between predator and prey was blurring. The ground shook as the gnarled shadows expanded, warping the very air around them. She could feel them pressing in, thick and suffocating, an unseen tide of terror. The alpha's eyes darted towards her in a flicker of panic before returning to the fight. "Focus," he yelled, lunging at the sleek creature. His claws swiped dangerously close, but the beast danced away, shimmering like a mirage in the dark. She gripped the jagged rock tighter, skin stinging with the effort. Why hadn't she thought of the flickering shadows before? They felt like they were whispering her name, like they were beckoning her to join their sinister dance. "Together," she urged again, though her voice trembled as uncertainty clawed at her insides. Each word felt heavier than the last. This was no simple brawl, this was a desperate fight for survival against something ancient and malevolent. The elegant beast lunged, fangs bared, the alpha barely twisting aside in time. But the second creature was relentless, its eyes fixed on its prey with unwavering certainty. Then came the chorus of voices again, hissing and mocking, swirling in a chaotic rhythm. Foolish mortals, your end is near. Gritting her teeth, she drew a breath. Look for its weakness, she shouted, trying to inject some hope into the fray. More than once already, she felt her strength pull away. What good was any of this if they fell into darkness, lost forever? The alpha's fight became more frantic. The elegant beast was toying with him, darting in close then retreating with ease. She saw his muscles quiver, fatigue etched into his features. He needed her. They needed each other. Sensing the opportunity, the alpha traded blows, feigning left while moving right. The elegant beast sidestepped, anticipating his next attack, but she had seen this before. With intuition guided by desperation, she thrust the jagged rock toward the alpha. Now your chance. He lunged forward, using her distraction as he aimed for the creature's flank. The sleek beast screeched, but its resolve shifted. It turned to her, the fury in its eyes sparking something primal within her. A flicker of fear but also defiance. Then something massive stirred in the darkness, breaking her focus. Something deeper and older. The growl morphed into a painful, unholy wail, shaking the stones around them. What is that? She gasped, glancing at the alpha. He looked to the deep shadows, horrified. More than just them, he murmured, voice taut. His stance shifted, poised as if bracing himself for the worst. Her chest tightened as she felt the ground pulse. From the shadows, tendrils snaked outward, reaching for her, cold and relentless. She could feel them grasping at her legs, whispering sweetly, trying to lure her in. Fight it! The alpha roared, snapping her attention back to the beast before them. But the whispers grew louder, drowning out reason. I can't, she stammered. Yes, you can. His words cut through the chaos, but she felt small, lost among shadows that pulled her deeper. Stay with me, he shouted, advancing against the elegant beast one more time. The sounds of claws clashing echoed, combined with the demonic chorus from the depths, a cacophony of despair. Just then, a glimmer of light flickered from her chest. Her hand instinctively reached for it. Was it hope? Was it pain? But as she clutched at the spark, it flickered, then spilled forth with blinding intensity, illuminating the cavern. The shadows recoiled for a heartbeat, as if shielded by something ancient. The darkness shrieked, a sound of rage and fear. It's working, she yelled, emboldened. The alpha's expression shifted, hope breaking through the storm clouds in his eyes. As the light pulsed again, the shadows slinked back, but danger was far from over. The elegant beast lunged once more, undeterred, its rage igniting against the light. The moment hung frozen in tension. And then a shift occurred. From somewhere deeper, an echoing laugh erupted, mocking them both amidst the chaos. Oh, you think you can escape? The sinister voice teased, sending chills through her very being. What? Had they awakened? What else lurked within the depths, waiting to transform their fight into a nightmare of blood and shadow? The truth was clawing its way into her mind. There was far more at stake. With the darkness growing less distant, she braced herself, leg trembling, for whatever emerged next. The air crackled with tension, the flickering light pushing back the shadows, but not for long. The mocking laughter echoed again, reverberating against the stone walls, a sinister reminder of what lay within the depths of darkness. She felt the weight of 1,000 eyes watching, waiting to pounce as the elegant beast snarled, teeth sharper than knives. You think glowing against the darkness can save you? It hissed, voice dripping with disdain. The darkness pulsed, drawing closer, tendrils snaking playfully, wrapping around her, teasing her resolve. Don't listen, the alpha shouted, his voice fierce, cutting through the doubt that threatened to swallow her whole. Focus on the light. A surge of determination burned within her. She could feel the warmth in her chest grow stronger as she grasped onto that flicker of hope, fighting against the dark tendrils that tried to snuff it out. She had a choice. They both did. Could they rise above this madness together? Or would they lose everything? With a wild determination, she shouted back. You don't own me. I will not be a pawn in your game. The proclamation sliced through the air, resonating deep within her spirit. Foolish girl, the shadowed voice purred. You're just a flicker. The void will embrace you. The shadows surged in a wave, but she held her ground. She could feel the alpha's powerful presence beside her, a bulwark against the approaching darkness. Together they radiated something fierce. Together she urged, hoping he understood. With that, she felt the energy shift. The Alpha's confident growl rumbled, a sound that ignited the courage pooling within her. They moved as one, crashing against the wave of darkness, ready to rewrite their fate. The elegant beast lunged at them, claws glimmering under the faint light. But they were faster, weaving through the chaos. She whipped the jagged rock in her grip, distracting the creature just long enough for the Alpha to capitalize on her stance. He launched forward, muscles rippling, a blur of fierce precision as he connected with the beast, sending it sprawling against the wall. Now, he bellowed, giving her the imperative she craved. She sprang forward, heart racing, adrenaline electrifying her every move. She gathered every ounce of her burgeoning strength and let it flow into the light blossoming from her core. The shadows writhed in response to the sudden rush of illumination, hesitating, quivering beneath its warmth. "Merge with me," she cried, desperation intertwining with her command. Together, the Alpha's eyes locked onto her. There was a heartbeat where time suspended. He nodded firm, and she felt their energies converge, a brilliant surge of light blasting forth. The darkness recoiled, startled, and for the first time, she saw fear flicker in its molten eyes as they surged forward, intertwining as radiant beings of hope and courage, unyielding against the encroaching shadows. But the ferocity of the beast was relentless. With one last snarl, it wound through the cavern, preparing to strike. The weight of mountains hung over them. "You think you can defeat the endless night?" It howled again, a challenge that sent chills through her spine. "No," she shouted back defiantly, her voice a battle cry. "We are not afraid of the dark." A powerful pulse of light erupted around them, the shimmer cascading out. The shadows screamed, retreating in a flurry of panic as the radiant energy engulfed the chamber, illuminating every hidden nook. Then, with one final push, they lunged. Power roared through her veins, amplified by their unity. The tendrils of darkness shrieked, distancing themselves as their light encroached, burning brighter with every beat of her heart. The elegant beast writhed, fear etched into its savage features, while the Alpha stood tall beside her, exuding strength and unwavering conviction. And then, just like that, the moment shifted. "Your light may flicker, but it will never extinguish the darkness," the sinister voice echoed once more, but it bore a hesitant shade now. The shadows receded, fragmenting their hold over her, weakening. In that pivotal moment, something inside her clicked. The cacophony of shadows crumbling at their feet sent a shiver of exhilaration through her. "I am not just a flicker. I am the dawn," she declared, her conviction pushing through the terror. With one last aggressive surge, they pushed forward, crashing into the beast with a raw force that began to obliterate the darkness surrounding. It exploded into a vortex of shadows that swirled around them, then crumbled into dust, an echo of a nightmare shattering into oblivion as the very fabric of the shadows dissipated. She could feel the night recede, warmth embracing both her and the Alpha, illuminating their surroundings, clearing the path ahead. Battered but victorious, they stood together amidst the fading remnants of darkness, breaths coming in exhilarated bursts, their hearts thrumming as the cavern brightened, light conquering the remnants of despair. "You did it," the Alpha murmured, pride gleaming in his eyes. "We did it." For the first time she allowed herself to smile, hope blossoming anew. "We're free." But what awaited them outside this cavern? What leviathan of shadows still lingered in the world, waiting to reclaim what they fought so hard to break free from? They would face whatever came next together. And as they stepped into the light of dawn, fingers entwined, the horizon stretched ahead, vast and boundless. Nothing could take that away. But their fight wasn't over. There were battles left to confront, and an unyielding connection forged in the heart of chaos. Uncertainty loomed, but with every dawn comes the promise of a new beginning. Join them as they navigate an uncertain future, and explore the bond forged in darkness. Together they would face the world, ready to uncover the truth hidden in the shadows. Don't forget to subscribe immediately to not miss any upcoming adventures. This is the moment to show your support. Smash that like button now to keep the algorithm alive. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about this ending. And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to experience this conclusion. Your engagement matters, and only true fans understand how important it is to support this channel.